Carrie, one, this is Christian back yet again with the first segment of germinating coconut palms from seed, and we're going to progress. We're going to start with a seed, and we're going to germinate. I might do a little bit. I might cheat a little bit and use a germinated seed like the one there, but what's important is picking the right coconut. Now, a lot of people, most people watching this vlog, or maybe you guys do have access to coconuts full with the husk and everything. I would say it's preferable to get a coconut that has the husk on it, meaning there's a nut inside these that has three eyes in it, like you buy at the grocery store. Now, if you can get one of those, that is optimal. Wait for the coconut to fall off of the tree unless you see it's perfectly brown sitting up in the crown. You can try and throw, like, I don't know, your shoe at it and hopefully it'd fall down. But if you find one on the ground, those are the ripe ones. You don't want the green coconuts. Those are not ripe yet, and they will most likely not germinate. So this is last year's crop of coconuts that did not germinate. So I don't have a new crop that is fresh and ready, but I'm going to go on visuals here for the time being. When you're searching for a good coconut to start working with, you want to get one, pick it up. You want to make sure it's not leaking, which means that the nut would have cracked, so the actual seed is broken, and you want to hear some sloshing around. That's the water inside, and that's vital to its germination. It needs to be hydrated. It needs to be able to push out that root. So, with that said, if you are not in an area where you can find coconut seeds or just coconuts, go to your local grocery store. You can go into the fruit department, and you can usually find coconuts that are just already husked, and those will actually germinate. People will say that they don't. They do. You put them in a sterile media. It'll be a little bit different, and I'll go over that about how to germinate those. But let's start with the ones that have a husk on them. Now, coconuts are different than a lot of palm seeds in that they float. They don't sink. You don't want a sinking coconut because it's no good. It means that the seed is open and water's getting in, and it's, the ship is sinking. You don't want that. So there's two methods that we use, or I use at least in Florida, to germinate coconuts. I don't do a lot of germination anymore of these, but I will do it for the vlog. I'm going to call one the floating method, and the other is what I call the sandbox method. Coconuts naturally come from areas that are coastal areas. They float through the sea. They'll germinate in seawater, wash up on the beach, and grow. So they're used to growing in sand. So let's start with the sandbox. What I would do is I would take either like some bed markers, like a 6x6, and kind of like cordon off a little area, put some sand in it, and then stuff the coconuts in, kind of half bury them with the, if you see there, that is the part that attaches to the tree. You want the broad side, that part. You can see the dark area there. You want that part facing up. That's where it's going to sprout. That's where it wants to sprout. That's where the eyes are sitting and going to throw up a shoot. So you want to, depending on how many you have, you kind of want to have them in full sun, or as much. You want to have them in a very warm area. If it has to be full sun in your climate, put it in full sun, and you want to stick them straight up. You'll be able to stick more in there because they'll be not laying down. They'll be kind of sitting up. And make sure they get water regularly. You can just spray the husk down. And after a while, as long as it's over 80 degrees, they'll start to shoot up. They'll put out a first shoot, and that usually takes a couple months. It's not right away, unfortunately. Sometimes you get lucky enough and they will germinate right away, but I wouldn't expect it. And then you can kind of pick them up out of the sand. They will not produce a root out of the husk for a little while, for the most part. Here's a little bit of an example. Sorry about the mess here. This is my little staging area to get plants that I pot up at the house over to the nursery. But this is one here that is germinated. It germinated over the winter, which is not unusual, but it's not the norm. You can see this actually has no roots sticking out. You can just kind of pick this up. It's a live plant. It's good to go. So that is, I usually just lay them down in a rocky area. This area gets a lot of rain in the summer, so they kind of just germinate. That's when I germinate my coconuts. I usually don't do it year round if I'm going to germinate them. So the other method is the floating method. Now, this method is a little more, I wouldn't say it's simpler. I mean, I guess it's a little bit, but if you have like a bucket that would say hold ice, or say you have like you use as like a cooler for holding sodas or beer at parties. You can fill it up with some water. I have one in the backyard. It's a little bit dirty right now. It's not a good example of what I would use, but fill it up with some water. Make it kind of shallow, just enough for the coconuts to float, and you can float them. You can also use like recycling bins, which I use to stack plant pots in, and you can put like a trash bag over it. Fill it up with some water. You don't have to put it deep, because the shallower the water, the warmer it'll stay, or it'll get warmer faster. And let them float, and they'll eventually crack open, especially if that water is warm. Now, around here in the summertime, water stays above 80 degrees all the time, so that's what you're looking for, is looking for above 80 Fahrenheit. So that would be about 26 Celsius, is that right? 20, something like that. So this is off the top of my head. But that is what you're going to be looking for. I don't have the coconuts, I don't have that set up here. When I have the coconuts ready, I can do that. I can show you how that's done, but really all you have to do is take something that can hold water, put some water in it, float the coconuts, and you'll be ready to go. Now, the third method is when the coconut is dehusked. That's this outer shell will be taken off, and there's just this little nut. It's going to be at the size, it's like the size of like 2 softballs or so, and you want to take that and put it in, basically, when I say sterile mix, I mean a mix that is not, that has no organics in it. So this is perlite, this white material on the top of these potted plants here, these seedlings. They're sterile. You can put them in there. You can put them out in the sun. The perlite warms up real fast, and that will also, I don't germinate coconuts that way because I get them like this. I can get them at the grocery store, but these are free. So, I don't, if I don't have to pay $3 for a nut, then, I'm not going to. But for those that want to, it was originally thought that you could not do that, and people started using this method, and it does work. It doesn't always work, but if it's your only option, then that you can do it that way. It can be done. So when you get the shoots here, now keeping this coconut wet, throwing some water on it, that's what all I've been doing. I've been spraying this down with water all winter long, just, hosing it down. You can see this little spear coming out here. Oh, I don't know if you can see that, but there you go. And so you just kind of want to make sure that it'll eventually start producing roots that'll want to come down. So when that happens, you're going to want to put it into a pot that it'll fit into. Now, if you see here on the right, actually it's in the center now, that's a 3-gallon pot. If you can stuff the coconuts in those. They don't require a lot of soil. They don't usually use up a lot of soil in habitat. So put them in there, let them gather some roots, and then you can pot them up to a bigger pot when they've established that root system. So that is how, that's the best way to germinate the coconuts, either with the floating method. You can use what I call the sandbox method, setting up a little box of sand, sticking them in there, waiting for them to germinate, and then extracting them. Or with the husk method, putting them in some sort of rock or sterile media to get that root to come out. And from there, like I said, when you have that germinated, this should go into a 3-gallon now. It's not, I will soon. But I'm going to harvest some coconuts from the nursery, and we're going to start doing a little bit of like a updated, maybe every couple weeks about the germination if I have an update. Otherwise, I'm just going to, kind of integrate it into my other videos. So I hope that was informative enough to get you guys and gals to start your coconut germination process. If you have any more questions, feel free to email me. My email is cfkingfish@gmail.com. You can find me on Facebook at Faulkner's Palms. You can message me anytime. As long as I'm awake, I will send you a message back. So anyway, if you guys enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. I hope you guys subscribe and watch some more. There will be a lot more to come in the future. And thank you for watching.